1. Unspent money is working money, but only if you invest it. Most people think keeping money in a savings account is playing it safe. It's not. If your savings account gives you 4% a year, but inflation runs at 5%, you're quietly losing money every single year.
Here is what I wish I understood at 20. Unspent money only works for you when it's invested.
And the single biggest advantage you have right now isn't talent, isn't connections, it's time. $10,000 invested at 20, growing at 10% a year, becomes over $70,000 by 65. Wait until you're 30 to start. You get less than 30,000. Same money, same returns, just 10 years later. That gap is the cost of waiting. 2. Compound interest is magic when it works for you, and a nightmare when it works against you. Compound interest is the most powerful force in personal finance. But here is what nobody tells you at 20, it cuts both ways. When it works for you, it builds wealth quietly in the background. When it works against you on credit card debt, on high-interest loans, it destroys wealth just as quietly. Credit card debt at 25% interest doubles in less than 3 years. That means a 2,000 balance you ignore becomes 4,000, then 8,000 while you're barely noticing. The same math that makes investors rich is the same math that traps people in debt for decades. The rule is simple: make compound interest your employee, never your landlord. 3. A raise means nothing if your lifestyle inflates to match it. Getting a raise feels amazing. And then somehow a few months later, you're just as broke as before. Sound familiar? This is called lifestyle inflation, and it's the silent killer of wealth. Every time your income goes up, your spending quietly rises to meet it. Nicer apartment, better phone, more meals out. The number in your paycheck grows. The number in your savings account doesn't. Here is the fix. Every time you get a raise, immediately increase your savings or investments first, before you touch anything else. If you get an extra $300 a month, move $150 to investments automatically. You'll barely feel the difference in your daily life, but over 10 years that habit changes everything. The goal is to keep widening the gap between what you earn and what you spend. That gap has a name: wealth.
4. Your first job matters more than you think, but not because of the salary.
Most people pick their first job based on salary. I get it, you need money. But that's short-term thinking. Your first job is less about what they pay you and more about what you learn. Skills compound just like money does. Someone who spends their 20s learning fast, building real expertise, and growing a genuine network will out-earn someone who chose the higher salary at a boring job every single time by their 30s. Ask yourself before taking any job: will I learn here? Will I meet people who can open doors? Will this make me more valuable in 2 years than I am today? A 10,000 salary difference matters a lot less at 22 than the skills you'll carry for the next 40 years.
5. You can't save your way to wealth. You have to grow your income.
Here is the math nobody talks about. Saving has a flaw.
You can't spend less than zero. If you earn $2,000 a month, no matter how disciplined you are, you can only save so much. But income has no ceiling. Cutting your daily coffee saves you maybe $1,000 a year. Learning a skill that makes you $10,000 more valuable, that changes your life. The most powerful financial move in your 20s isn't clipping coupons, it's investing in yourself aggressively. Take the course, learn the language, build the side project, develop skills the market pays well for, not instead of saving, but in addition to it. Because the best returns in your 20s almost always come from investing in the person looking back at you in the mirror. 6. An emergency fund isn't a luxury, it's the foundation of everything. Imagine you lose your job tomorrow, or your car breaks down, or you have an unexpected medical bill. What happens? If you don't have an emergency fund, the answer is you panic and you borrow money at terrible interest rates. And you spend the next few years digging yourself out of a hole that didn't have to exist. An emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of living expenses, sitting in a simple savings account doesn't earn great returns. That's not the point. It buys you something far more valuable than returns options: the ability to make calm decisions under pressure. The ability to say no to a bad job because you're not desperate. The ability to sleep at night. Build this first, before investing, before anything. It's the foundation that everything else sits on. 7. The people around you shape your finances more than any book ever will. You can read every personal finance book ever written. But if everyone around you is competing to buy the newest phone, going out every weekend, and calling you cheap when you try to save, you will struggle. Every single day. Environment beats willpower. Always. This doesn't mean abandoning your friends. It means deliberately expanding your circle to include people who talk about building things, not just spending things. People who share opportunities, not just expenses. People who won't make you feel weird for choosing your future over a night out. Jim Rohn said it decades ago, and it's still true. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Choose those 5 carefully. Your bank account is taking notes.
8. Buying cheap repeatedly is more expensive than buying good once.
Here is a trap a lot of people fall into. They buy the cheapest version of everything to save money and end up spending more than if they'd just bought quality the first time. A 20 pair of shoes that falls apart in 2 months, replaced 6 times a year, costs $120. A 80 pair that lasts 2 years costs $40 a year. The cheap option felt responsible. The math says otherwise. The real principle is this: spend more on things you use every day and things that last: your mattress, your work chair, your shoes, your tools. Spend less on things that are just for show. And remember, quality doesn't always mean expensive. But the cheapest option almost never turns out to be the cheapest choice.
9.
Real wealth is invisible. The people who show off the most often have the least. The person driving the most expensive car in the parking lot is probably not the wealthiest person there. Real wealth is invisible. It's the money not spent. It's the investments quietly growing. It's the freedom to quit a job you hate, to take a year off, to help someone you love without checking your balance first. Morgan Housel put it perfectly: wealth is what you don't see. You don't see the savings account, the index funds, the paid-off mortgage. You do see the flashy car, the designer clothes, the expensive watch. And very often, the person wearing all of that is one emergency away from financial collapse. Stop trying to look rich. Start trying to be free. Those 2 goals are almost always in direct conflict.
10. Money doesn't buy happiness, but financial stress definitely buys misery.
Money can't buy happiness. You've heard that. And it's partly true. Research shows that beyond a certain income level, more money stops making you meaningfully happier. But here is what's less talked about: financial stress absolutely buys misery. Constant worry about money is linked to worse sleep, worse health, worse relationships, and worse decision-making across every area of life. So the real goal isn't to maximize wealth. It's to reach the point where money stops controlling you, where you're not checking your account with anxiety, where you can say no to things that don't serve you, and yes to things that do. That's not a number in your bank account. It's a feeling, and it's completely achievable if you start building toward it now, while you're young enough for time to do most of the heavy lifting.